Hello, 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 hello. All right. That's order food because I'm out of groceries. All right, let's do this. Okay, you're born the same year as me. Love it. I love it. I love it. You hide all your information. And ang, ang. All right, let's share screen. Let's start the timey. And let's stop my video so I can meditate and not look like a weird dude. All right. So, so. Back to back Taurus moons. I just had one and now I got another one. Let's talk about Libra Sun Taurus moon. You know who has this? My new cat. Well, actually the opposite is you. She has a Taurus Sun Libra moon. But you are a feminine goddess. You are a Venusian. You are a pure Venusian. Your sun and moon are the two signs that are ruled by the beautiful planet of beauty itself, Venus. And so you're definitely someone who enjoys the finer things in life. Um, you're probably someone who likes things look in a certain way. Um, I'm the same way. I like luxuries in life. But yeah, I definitely like that about Venusians. Like they really have like a strong sense of beauty and whether it's like designing their house a certain way or also with nature, like Taurus moon, like there's that need for nature, that need for kind of grounding themselves, for touching, for smelling, for all the other senses I can't think touching, smelling, eating, all those that what are the other senses? Hearing, beautiful sounds, music, nature. Just like so any Taurus moon sort of needs to they need to allow themselves like when they get stressed, it's like the life hack is just like go on a hike, or do something that gets you into that earth energy because Taurus in itself is like the most like grounded energy, Taurus moon can be so grounded they can truly meet their emotional needs at a very high level. So yeah, I think you gotta love that about Taurus moons. But one thing about Taurus moons though is that um they might not be the best at taking risks. Can be a bit stubborn. And where's my cat on? I always say, your moon is opposite Pluto. It's kind of it's like kind of close to 10 degrees out of orb. But regardless, that's a big factor in your life, right? Is this this movement away from and away from just like allowing things to just kind of be the way they are, like just the status quo. So so sometimes Taurus placements can, they can be too much like that. They can be too much it just comes down to the basic energetic principle that you need to let go, like make room for the new, or clear up room in your life to allow the new in, right? And when your life is completely full, that's very difficult to do. Full. So a lot of times, sometimes well, a lot of times people with Taurus placements, yeah, they can have a lot of it can just feel very, very hard to take those spiritual and even like, physical life risks. So that's one of the challenges. But also it's this very strong moon placement, right? Some would say that's the best moon sign, or just like, I don't like saying best or worst, but they're able to really meet their emotional needs and kind of feel their emotions and be very embodied with their emotions. And they have a sort of stability and groundedness that can be very infectious. And kind of like I feel like Taurus is so good at being present. That's like the superpower of Taurus. Super good at being present. And yeah, and then when you add Libra, so Libra and Taurus, they are 5 signs away. So those are, two energies that don't know anything about each other, but they do. It's not the worst quincunx, right? Because they do bond with that Venusian energy, right? Um, while other signs like Pisces and Leo, for example, are 5 away, they just have nothing to do with each other. But yeah, I would say that the difference though is that the Taurus part of you is the part that wants to kind of like be very stable. Perhaps it's more introvert, or mm, perhaps it's less complex. It's more about having things be chill, not having things be off the rails crazy. And I wouldn't say that Libra is off the rails crazy in any way. I would say rather that Libra, it's an air sign. So it's very social. It's very hold on one second. Putting a different shirt on. Yeah, so Libra is a very social, it's an air sign, right? So, and it's very, very relational, right? Libra is very, very relational. So that's just, one of the parts of it is that Libras have to really like they thrive when it comes to social situations and just social life in general, right? So it's not that Taurus isn't, it's more that Taurus is, it prefers like Taurus is not, it's not like it's not against the simple life, right? A Taurus moon, they're I think the reason it's such a good moon sign is that they can just they have the ability to be happy. I know everyone has the ability to be happy, but it's not some like they can like okay, check this out. So like people with like for me as a Sag moon, for example, right? Like there's this feeling of like always needing more. Like I'm not saying I suffer about that, but like the grass is green on the other side type energy, right? And I have to like work really really hard to like um makes me sound like a bad person. No, it doesn't actually. It's just honest. It's like I hate it, but like I can be very much like grass is greener, like thinking the grass is greener on their side, or maybe not even thinking it, but just curious, is it? And I feel like Taurus are very good at, and also Libra more in the context of like their partners, very, very good at seeing the beauty in the present. Um, so I actually like these two together, even if they're 5 away. Um, they're not forming a quincunx by angle. So I think that yeah, being able to kind of give to each, like I said, one is thrives when it comes to social situations. The other one is more about just like, making sure that life is kind of stable and the needs are met. Things are, like, and that's the thing. It's like that balance between things being too stable and things being stable enough, but still having that room for craziness, or that room for like changes that are needed. And the opposition of Pluto will definitely, put you in situations where you are faced with big, potentially very hurtful um, situations, potentially with the mother. not for sure because it's a very far off opposition, but basically a lot of times people. Oh, my headphones just said battery low. Hold on just a second. I have to figure this out. Let me see if I do this.
Okay, so I've never used these ones before. Test, 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 test. But volumes, volume's really low. Oh, Mika. Just keep the microphone up. Test, test, test. There you go. One last time. Test, test, test. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the share screen. Okay. So, wait, sorry. Did I just mute myself? Test, test. Okay, we're good. Okay, shared. All right. So, where were we? Yeah, basically, you have your Venus in Libra too, so that's just like really really nice. It just creates someone who, yeah, who's really able to see the lighter side and see the beauty in their partners, to see the beauty in life. Venus in Libra is an amazing Venus placement. The only thing with it is like to make sure to not, with Libra in general, to not be like people pleasing. Um, that's, people with Libra placements can struggle with that, and also indecisiveness. So yeah, those are just like a few things. But overall, yeah, so just like a common thing is like with Libra, it's like they can like just like care too much about like balancing like everything, balancing the kind of energy and making sure that everyone's happy, and sometimes they can do that at the expense of themselves and their happiness. So Libras often have to like, just like I said, Taurus has to take from Scorpio, Libra has to take from Aries. And that means assertiveness and really knowing what you want, being able to really like be assertive with that, really, really being able to put that out there, and not be afraid um of people kind of, like just really, really like understanding that sometimes people take advantage of people with Libra because of that nature, because of that giving nature. Um, and also even your Mercury's there too. So, that creates someone who's a very, very sweet communicator, who's very good at being a diplomat in any area of life. Just really good at, yeah, really making sure that all sides in an argument, for example, and able to really see um all sides, I guess you could say, um and kind of like have that perspective of, you know of of different sides. And so yeah, it's very good for like anything like being a counselor or stuff like that. Anything where you have to be the person in between different parties. Um, so then you have the 29-degree Virgo rising. Okay, so you're really like mastering the Virgo energy this lifetime. So it's very important to not be overly hard on yourself, to not be like overly perfectionist. And what can happen with Virgo is that they can be a little bit too like too hard on themselves, and then that can like project externally to where they're hard on like critical of other people. So it really is this big quest towards self-compassion. Now, on a karmic level, um with your nodes in North Node in Aquarius, like me, sixth house, like me, um, you what would be 11th in Placidus, but there's really this big push towards service and towards getting away from the me and going towards the we, right? So like figuring out a way to use your gifts to best help the collective, right? And depending on what system you use, it could be lifetimes where where with Leo South Node, right? It's like sometimes people with that can come into this lifetime with like a sense of like I don't really like to call it entitlement, but just like lifetimes where they remember where they were like you know applauded and loved and potentially like in high positions in society, where they were really able to be creative and kind of be the star in a sense. So yeah, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult, um because what can happen with those placements is that there can be this like it can sometimes feel like you're blocked if you're doing things that are more ego based, even if they feel very natural. But when you do things that have like a high metaphysical value, then it opens up. So it's like not about like rejecting that side of you, that very creative and giving gregarious side. It's really just about really really thinking about, okay, what is the metaphysical value of what I'm doing, right? So yeah, that's a key one there. And then if it's 11th, 5th, it's just like about really balancing out, the Aquarius and Leo axis, right? Which is about, yeah, like um a very good balance of doing things that are improving your kind of like your growth as like a creative person, as someone who's very individualistic and who's independent and who's moving forward in life in a way that is not necessarily like traditional in the sense of like doing what their family expects of them to do. It's more so around blazing their own path, and that's also shown by your Chiron, which so you have your south node with Jupiter also, so that makes it even further with the whole thing about like probably past lives where you're in high positions in society, and um you know where you had a lot of help from other people, like strong alliances. I'm thinking of like a past life queen or something like that. And yeah, just being able to kind of move towards really really thinking, yeah, like I've been saying, like really thinking, okay, like how can I best impact the collective? How can I best impact everyone? So yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. let's see here. Let's see. So also with relationships, a lot of faith or fate, excuse me. Um, I think that there's the potential to have very spiritual relationships, that feel very like kind of soulmate, two souls becoming one type energy. Um, and just like how your relationships are really here to teach you a lot. They could, yeah, be very, very romantic and very faded, and meant to kind of help you, you know, in your, continuous development of compassion and giving, to the world and whatnot. So yeah, and then also Chiron in Cancer, that also a lot of times indicates someone who felt misunderstood by their family early on. And because it's 11th house, it could even be, with respect like to like their public life. So it really does, take someone willing to kind of take risks if there is any, I don't want to use the word trauma, but if there is any difficulty, like anything that happened in life that made you kind of shy when it comes to putting yourself out there. Because if you look at your Mercury square Uranus, that's a very creative, very outside the box thinker, right? And a lot of times people with that can find it a bit difficult, early on in life, because they can have just like ideas that are just so different than the mainstream, and they can think so outside the box that not everyone, um, gets it. So yeah, just being able to like really, a lot of people with that, I have like so many clients that have that square in their chart, and a lot of times, yeah, it does speak to like feeling misunderstood, early on. So that's something. Um, let's see. But yeah, just like I think karmically, like there is a big push towards like taking a creative risk on yourself. Because like with the South Node in Leo, with Saturn in the fifth house, it's not, it can sometimes feel very difficult with that placement to like truly like, and I link it to potentially like having had those lifetimes where you were great, where you were beloved, where you did get that kind of external validation and everything in that realm. So sometimes it can be frustrating with that fifth house Saturn when you're used to kind of getting that, to feel like your movements, like your creative movements are blocked. It can feel like that, right? But the best thing about that fifth house is being able to, because you have Neptune Uranus there too, which can give you lots of kind of intuitive ability when you're being creative, when you're able to like let go. So it's really about taking creative risks on yourself, but also allowing other people to be creative, allowing other people, to kind of like, pushing other people to find their inner creativity, their inner child, right? But yeah, um so yeah, then there's the sun is squaring Saturn. So that's interesting. So that when you have sun square Saturn, sometimes you can feel very for the first 30 years, quite held back. Um, like where there's like lots of tests and challenges that you have to really overcome. And a lot of times people with that can have like, issues with self-esteem early on. And often, if the son's the father in lots of charts, it could be like an overly critical parent, whether it's the father or, and then with the Virgo rising, it could just lead someone to be overly critical of themselves. Like I was saying earlier, right? Too hard on yourself. And then, um, yeah, just judging the self too harshly. And then, yeah. So, but with that, people with that, they have to grow up quickly. Um, it always gets better with age. Everything's Saturn related. So you pass your Saturn returns. So a lot has most likely opened up. Usually creates a late bloomer, but it's also very linked to success because people have, it's like the first 30 years, you're fighting, you're getting past this restriction, you're getting past this roadblock. And then after the Saturn return, things just get a lot easier, and then suddenly you don't have all these setbacks and you're like, oh, this is awesome, like I still have all the determination, all that ability, all of that ability to kind of follow through and just stick with it without the BS. So yeah. And then 25 3. Okay. But then you would have had like a lot of past life talents that you would still inherit. And with Venus trying your nodes, also that also speaks to very faded romantic relationships that are pushing you towards higher growth in this lifetime. And with Mercury, it's inheriting like a certain ability to think and see the world in a very unique way, and having like this innate ability in this lifetime, right? To kind of be able to understand, okay, this resonates, this doesn't resonate. When you're, let's say you're learning something about like esoteric, for example, right? There's a lot of BS out there, but I believe that you would have this ability to kind of sift through and know, okay, this feels right, this feels wrong, right? And that could go with all kinds of different things, right? But I also think that that would reflect a sort of like, that would actually counteract any self-esteem issues because it would tend to like have a level of self-value brought over from past lives, and potential artistic talents and stuff of that nature. But yeah, and then okay, so then Sun is okay, so Sun is square Neptune and Saturn. So interesting. Also Uranus 7 degrees. Yeah. So basically, yeah, so the Sun's getting squared by Neptune and Uranus and Saturn. So with Neptune, that one is really about, there can be some like almost like a need to have like compassionate service to humanity, and through that the self can see the self more clearly. But there can be different issues around that and around a sort of like spiritual fog, um like lots of battles that one has to overcome to feel really strong and confident about themselves. And it creates, like a very empathetic, very caring person. But um it's really important the people you hang around with, and this, where you live, and just like the situation you're in, because with Neptune you can sort of take on energies that aren't necessarily yours. And yeah, just with identity, people that have this, I tend to talk to them and they tend to really say like, it's when I give and when I do things that have a high metaphysical value that I feel most Like when you're at one with the world, where you're, whether it's through art or whether it's through this or that, whatever it is that you do that makes you feel that oneness, that is what can, really, really clear up some of the potential issues around identity. And what can feel like early on is, it can feel just very difficult to understand who you are. And other people might see you very clearly, but then, yeah, it can, with a Neptune square, there can be different insecurities. It can also make one gullible. And yeah, so yeah, and it also can like make one, when they're young, like have this like perception of guilt. Like people can like look at them, and just like see them as like having like feeling like for some reason, like people like can look at someone with that square and think like, oh, that person's guilty, like, so yeah, really it is about standing up for what you believe in, and standing up for yourself, and finding different things that can really allow you to see yourself more clearly. Like perfect example for me is a Pisces, right, which is Neptune. I had those same struggles my whole life, but then when I started doing astrology and helping people and talking to people, that really like helped me understand myself better, and then I was able to become confident in myself. So it's really about purpose, right? um but yeah, people with that, they're usually very like aware of like the oppressed in the world and different causes that, um you know like they really feel like they want to help different social causes and whatnot. And that, and it's all about like, maintaining this set of morals and ideals, that, high morals and high ideals that will, that are really true to you and your higher self, and kind of living your life based on those. So yeah, it's all about like inner strength and removing self-doubt, and then that also has a big impact on the physical health, right? So um yeah, and for any Neptune aspect, like any kind of drugs or medications, stuff like that, it's alcohol, it's very important to kind of have a grounded relationship around that, because it can make it difficult to, yeah, just extra care is needed with respect to that. So I always tell, like, it's really, really good for anything creative, anything. A lot of people with that will have like inner like, they can be great entertainers, really good, whether it's like music, great poets, anything with screens. Also, like I said, like, any kind of social or charity work, even activism, but it definitely brings a lot of interest in all things spiritual. But you have to be careful of like not finding like the wrong gurus or the wrong people to follow. So yeah, and yeah, it just creates this so like one of the tricks I always tell people with Neptune aspects is that Neptune rules cameras. So one thing you can do is you can film yourself. Like if you're ever like in self-doubt or just feeling lost, just film yourself. You don't have to show anyone. Or talking into a mirror. Mirrors are also ruled by Neptune. And just yeah, just like speaking about your emotions. And it has like this real magical healing potential. Like I do it myself, right? And it really, really works. Like if you're doing like a little vlog, an Angelog. So, yeah. So then with Uranus, that's a very interesting one. Sun Square Uranus people they have like a very specific mission, right? So it can take quite a bit of trial and error to figure out, to really find exactly, because you're here to really do things in your own way, right? Very, very brilliant, independent, someone, like I said, who thinks outside the box, and who acts outside the box, who stands out from the crowd. And it's really about like finding like a career, or like a life purpose, where you can really express that, very distinctive ego. um and sometimes like early on, people, this can be very, very rebellious, and more traditional minded people might, you know not necessarily be offended, but yeah, might have issues that. But this isn't like a very close This isn't as close of an aspect as the Neptune and the Saturn. So yeah, just yeah, really finding your unique talents and just self-expression is so important. Also, sometimes people just can have like a very quirky sense of humor that can sometimes be offensive to some people, not all the time. Um, but with all your Libra placements are very good for like kind of getting a pulse on what other people like. They're very good at seeing other people's how other people predicting how other people react to different things, so different situations and whatnot. So yeah. Also, so Jupiter where it's placed, that is very good for spiritual protection, and being able to kind of like understand the kind of more hidden occult realms innately, and navigate your way through areas of life that might be very, you know, foreign, like the gates to the unknown, these types of part areas of life that are scary to a lot of people. To you, you'll have lots of protection in those realms, so that's really good. And also it can be very good for, if it's an 11th house placidus, it could be very good for friends and for having a very big life purpose that might, like, with the sun square Uranus, it could be sometimes it's like 52 that, like, or like later in life that like the person truly finds what they're really meant to do. And because your midheaven is in Gemini, you midheaven in Gemini people, I always say, I see it so much that a lot of times they're the types of people who um have the moneymaker career, and then they're like creative passion, or they go through different career changes. They're just like lots of mutability in that sense. And because your moon's in the ninth house, you're really here to, and it's with Vesta, you're really here to work for what you find most sacred, right? You're really here to like have a big emotional connection to your dharma, but also to finding your truth, right? So with the ninth house moon, there's an emotional need to travel physically or metaphorically, right? Like metaphorically would be like different types of philosophical viewpoints of reality, and traveling physically is obviously like going to different cultures and just always improving your worldview. And then that worldview is then linked to your dharma and what you want to do with your outer life. So that's interesting. And then the fact that Mars is there too. So Mars is in Gemini. So Mars and Gemini people are very interesting. They are very good at with their words. They tend to be very interested in things like reading. They're good speak, like, yeah. So their words are their weapons, right? And in partnerships, they definitely want to have a partner who's like their best friend, who's like, um, where they have that kind of like intellectual sort of connection. And the fact that it trines your Venus, definitely like Venus in, like I said before, Venus in Libra loves to have that balance and that fairness in relationships. um Peace, they love peace, they don't like yelling, shouting, all that. Very calm and soothing energy. And yeah, like just being able to have like very strong communication, super important. But then also with the moon in Taurus, there's an ability, there's a need to have someone that's that's stable, that provides a level of stability. And yeah. So moving forward, hold on, I'm gonna, these headphones keep like going in and out of it's so annoying. It's like every technology I get just breaks, but like they just keep going in and out of like sound cancellation. So it's like I have sound cancel and then boom, it goes to like non-sound cancel. So I'm gonna try to plug my other ones back in. Hold on. Let's just pause this recording.
All righty. It's 40%, so hopefully it will last. All right. So. Also, I just think that, you're someone who, yeah, just has like a big taste for the adventure. You're here to explore, you're here to, see lots of different sides of the world. And also just like learn a ton, right? So it's like definitely about kind of, and this also goes like with the Black Moon Lilith in Sag, sometimes that can be it's really important to not be dogmatic, like, because you can definitely be someone who spends a lot of energy like finding truth, finding, you know, like just like really, really exploring the world and on this quest for wisdom and um, when you find it, it can be there can be this energy like, okay, like now that I found this amazing thing or these amazing things that are helping me so much, I want all the people around me to, that I love to also, like, let's say you get, just easy example, let's say you got really into astrology, right? Like it could be an energy of like, okay, I found this is amazing, I really, really want my siblings or my family members to learn this, right? So sometimes the Black Moon Lilith in Sag can be about not imposing um one's beliefs on other people. I'm not, but it's not a plan, so it's not something that you have like as a trait or something in your chart, right? It's a hypothetical. So it's like it's the best way to look at Black Moon Lilith is like it's you at your lowest, you like in your lowest vibe, right? So we all have a placement of this. Um, so yeah, just in Sag, and it's fourth, yeah. So it could, yeah, it could just be from like if there is that if you do resonate with that potential of feeling misunderstood, it could just be really linked to yeah, really linked to not not pushing your beliefs, because like sometimes people with that, I've noticed they can just be very like I'm a Sag moon, so like I get it. But yeah, what can happen is that they can like not like I guess how I would say it is like everyone, regardless of where they're at, I mean, yeah, some people are just like stupid, super stupid, but like are super ignorant, right? And they can't think for themselves. But at the same time, everyone still has everyone still has their own truth, and you can still always, even if it's like a negative thing, you can still always take from someone else's truth and learn something, right? Like everyone, it's kind of like the philosophy that everyone has something to offer. Get off this for a minute. So yeah, so that's important. And yeah, like at Mars where it is, it's just like, yeah, very ambitious, So um there is, I don't doubt that like you would be someone that would be able to go towards their, success, and kind of fight for that, just really, really want to have lots of independence in your career. That's another thing with the Gemini midheaven is like wanting to feel like you're learning in what you're doing and to really be stimulating what you're doing. Um, so yeah. Um, but yeah, there's just like this Venus and Mars when they trine is beautiful because there's just this amazing ability to, or talent to relate to other people, right? And in love, it creates someone who's very loyal, um, fun loving, right? Who's able to balance, which is big in your chart with the Libra, right? Um, Intimacy with independence, which is so sometimes with Libra placements, they fall too far into like the codependent or like the like being defined by their relationship. So it's really important to, yes, like relationships are great, but to not fall to where it's like, you're losing this your sense of who you are within the relationship. Also with Mars trine Venus, I've noticed this is that people can take their creative talents for granted and fail to make the most of them. Um, that's something I've seen a lot. So with your fifth house Saturn, there is that the chart's asking you like take a creative risk, right? Because a lot of times Saturn fifth house, they sometimes there can be wounding around like not like early in life, with your sun square Saturn potentially not having been able to like express your inner child enough and perhaps like overly serious energy. So let me see one thing. Hold on. Okay, just had to fetch my food. Anyways, yeah, so there's definitely a lot of times without Saturn, yeah, just like difficulty with just letting go and just playing. So that's why I was saying earlier how like the best way to use it without Saturn is to like because you can be very structured around your play and your passions, right? So I think when you can take what you do for fun and turn it into your career, like that's the best way. Like I had this, like I said, right? And for me, astrology is fun. So I was able to take that and create a career out of it, right? So it's very, very. I think it's people talk about that being a difficult placement. I agree, there is some difficulty, but when you can play in those rules, like when you can when you can kind of like accept, okay, like there's some areas of life where that might kind of push me back from exerting my full creative, like kind of feeling like I always describe it as like with music, for example, like be very, very talented, but like for me, like when I used to like kind of mess around with music, I never really got into it. Like it was like there would be like this like wall that came up when I was like doing it around some people, and it just sucked, because I had tons of talent or have had more. But yeah, so it could be something like that. But then, like I said, and it's actually a good example of this, like if I actually looked at music, it's like, okay, was that ego or was that soul? So it's like you have like a very specific life purpose. So it's like when things seem like they're getting blocked, it could be very good to like look and be like, okay, like maybe this is getting blocked because I've done this before in a past life and I'm not meant we have a cat, meant to be, fully doing that. Or maybe that's like, maybe it's with the Aquarius North Node, it's like, really, really giving back, and really finding yourself as an individual, taking that road less traveled, um, and doing things that are humanitarian for the collective. So yeah, and that could be with your own creativity in some way, right? There's always ways to kind of, um, you know, there's always a ton of different ways around these things. Yeah, you could definitely be someone because like South Node with Chiron, like that's someone who has like past life healing. Um, why are you hitting me, Neela? Give me a kiss. Thank you. Good girl. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's an interesting connection. So, but also I think one way to look at South Node with Chiron is just like to be wary of the potential tendency to kind of wallow in self-pity. Um, like sometimes people with that, like it's like they sometimes can have brought over certain pain from past lives, and they can sometimes only see pain and suffering in this life. So it's really about kind of getting yourself out there, moving around, like being flexible, taking risks, the Taurus moon, like it's like about taking risks, but then also still having that stability, knowing that you have this stability, right? You have this this internal groundedness, right? So it's like you can, you're able to take more risks, right? Um, with that. So, but yeah, a lot of people with this, like they also like may have like suffered as a child. It's very karmic. Any kind of like childhood suffering, it's very karmic because it's meant to put you in a position, right? Like all the healers I deal with And when I say healer, I'm very loose with what I mean. Like, I don't believe you have to have a career as a psychologist or as a Reiki person or as, anything like that. Like, it can just be how you are in your day-to-day life with people around you, right? And about how you heal yourself. And then if you like, you're able to be someone that can heal other people, right? But there's, yeah, lots of and this goes with your Saturn energy too. Like, you have to develop lots of strength to overcome adversity early on. And it's like the test is like, to be able to to focus on the positives in life, right? And have like through the development of that very caring and sensitive side, that is one of the you know, best potential ways to use this energy. And then you can tap into past life talents around healing. Um, let's see something. Oh yeah, and then also your part of fortune, that's like a part of your chart that's very positive. It's like a, it's a based on like the sun, moon, and ascendant. It's like a calculation. It's not a planet. It's a random point that lands somewhere. It's an Arabic part, and it lands randomly on the chart, and that is like our flow state where we just can be great and kill it in that area. So for you, it's in Aquarius, like your North Node. So that's basically, showing that for you, freedom, when you're free, independent, being yourself, that's where you find your joy. And not when you're not conforming, right? When you're really questioning everything, when you're really allowing yourself to like be inventive and take kind of a road in life that you look at and you say, damn, like this is like so true to me, like I wasn't doing this for anyone else. And then sixth house part of fortune, it's just about how service equals joy, so being able to take the steps forward. And that's why, your Virgo ascendant helps in that respect, because Virgo ascendants, they're very observant, they see everything, right? And I told you the biggest thing with that is um the perfectionism, right? You have Mercury rising too. So Mercury rising people are very, very good with their words, especially with your Mars in Gemini. And they're just people who are able to express their being very well. Um, so yeah. How many degrees is it? Yeah, so just like very, very curious, very, very curious person who wants to discover new ideas. And then also like it's like kind of a teacher energy, someone who wants to like, speak and share these ideas with other people. So yeah, just speaks to like the importance of communication in your life, and learning. I wouldn't be surprised if you're someone who read a ton and just loved all kinds of different media. And also your Pluto in the third, interesting. So, that speaks to, well, let's see, actually 29. Well, it'd be second in Placid. So, okay, we can kind of run through both. So on one end, it could be, so sometimes people with the Pluto position, like they can feel with money, like there can be this feeling of like poverty, like even if they're not poor, it's like past lives that were spent on in survival mode, right? And when that happens, the person has had to kind of sideline their spiritual growth and their emotional growth and different growths like that. So there can be different fears that arise around money. So it's really about confronting that and always like understanding that you're spiritual, like when you're doing the right thing metaphysically, that the divine, the universe will provide for you and will make sure that you everything that you need, is there. But people with that can have lots of fears around, losing it all. And it's from these different past life memories, that are hidden in the psyche. So I've seen people with this who get, come from, don't come from money, but they make something big out of themselves. And then they still have these fears to spend like very small amounts of money. Um, so yeah, it's really like healing around that. And then also if you look at it in the whole sign third house, it's like that is really related to feeling as if you don't want to take things at face value. Like it creates someone who's a very powerful communicator and someone who wants to go out in the world. Also, it could relate to siblings. So it could be like power struggles with siblings potentially if you have any siblings. Um, but yeah, someone who like is here to find their voice, right? And be someone who can really influence people through their, their beliefs and not obviously not pushing them too far on people, but like it's like in past lives how like in past lives how just taking things at face value, let's say like the way that they were taught in society, had like consequences, like negative consequences that pushed you away from the real truth. So lots of people with third house clue, it's like they want to go and find the truth. Like they want to do all the legwork. And that's with the Mars and Gemini is very good for that, right? Mars and Gemini people are very good at going towards the information, all the little data pieces that you need to collect to get to truth, right? So let's see here. Yeah, so really like Mars Gemini is also great for debates, right? So it's like good, well, good for like if you're like a lawyer or something like that. And even if you're not, you can use that. Um, Also with Mars and Gemini, sometimes people are quite fidgety with their hands. So having like whether it's guitar or something that you can do with your hands can be really, really good. Um, but yeah, like channel, yeah, so like it could be like Reiki, even video games, like there's tons of different things, right? Puzzles, whatever, right? But yeah, just like I would say Mars and Gemini, they thrive on change. They're very adaptable and they can do lots of different things at once. It's really important, yeah, to not spread the self too thin. Um, like, yeah, it's very important to go out and find what you love, find what you're passionate about. And that's a very good placement for someone who's just so curious about so many different things, but then not being scattered. That's the clue. The clue. That's the key. But like, yeah, I would say Mars and Gemini people like they just like have like you get very easily bored, right? So when that goes to career, it's like, yeah, it goes once again to like needing a career that's very intellectually stimulating. Um, yeah. Mm, yeah, I think overall you just have like a very strong like the sun in Placid in the first with Venus and Mercury, it's just like someone who is very like has like a very like especially with Venus, it's like a very nice aura. With Venus and Mercury together, that's a great placement. I have a lot of my clients have that for some reason. I think it's because they're able to really like it's very good for thinking and for um seeing things for like when you express yourself, you can express yourself in a very loving, caring manner. And makes someone who really like enjoys talking with people, very good at like listening and kind of having this warm communication style, right? And usually a very beautiful voice, especially in Libra, a very soothing voice. And then it conjuncts the sun to Venus, so that just creates, as a Libra, just or yeah, as a Libra, just someone who's just very gentle, and very very loving and very very affectionate. But they can be hurt, quite easily and sometimes a little bit overly idealistic when it comes to love. So it's just about having that dose of realism, right, with respect to that. Okay, so I was speaking earlier about like Uranus and Neptune where they are. So I think that Neptune fifth is amazing because you can really really create through your intuition, and have like a very deep kind of metaphysical connection with your passions, your pastimes, the things you do for fun. Um, so yeah, it's like the artist who just starts painting and then they just like things just like with Uranus, it's like they can get downloads. Like when you're able to calm your mind, things will just come to you. So finding different outlets like that can, yeah. Um, So Neptune and Uranus and Saturn, the fifth is interesting. The fifth house rules children, so there can be, you know, a very, very dreamy children and very like like dreamy yet all yet unconventional. But then Saturn's there too, so still able to kind of get things done. Also, fifth house Saturn can push childbirth until post Saturn return, so post 30, 20 and a half. Yeah, so like around you're past it right now. And yeah, I think it's really important with fifth house Saturn to not like to be very, very careful with love because they can kind of fall in love with the wrong person. There can be like this kind of like haziness, confusion around that. So yeah, just like really taking things slow is really important. Because like then Uranus there can make things go very, very fast. So it's really important to take love slow. Um, yeah, but usually like lots of romance in that kind of okay. Fifth house rules like the early phases of love, you know. So also fifth house Uranus is like usually like very unconventional creative I guess like unconventional creativity, right? And very outside of their box. Um, I just thought of two things. I was thinking about thinking outside the box, and ahead of their time, and thinking outside the box, um, with respect to creative talents and hobbies. So also with relationships, yeah, like the house Uranus can jump in and out. So it goes back to the idea of taking things slow. So yeah, like I said, it can create like a very chaotic love life. That's very, very unpredictable. Lots of like love at first sight type relationships that can escalate very quickly. But then also can end very quickly. Not all the time. I'm just saying like that's a potential, right? So people with that sometimes can jump in and out of relationships very quickly. But then with Saturn there, I think that kind of eases some of that. Because Saturn is this very like sobering planet. So yeah. And yeah, lots of musicians have a fifth house Uranus. A lot of DJs, a lot, it's linked to like technology. So like electronic music can be very good. Or just like futuristic types of music or music that has like technology in it. Oh, here's Esme. Esme, you're gonna help me? Okay, look at the chart and tell me what to look at. Esme, look, tell me. Oh, you looked at three things. You looked at Pluto and the North Node. Well, I didn't see the first one you looked at. Thank you, Esme. So, yeah, my magical cat Esme is speaking about the importance of Pluto and the North Node and just like, so yeah, if there is yeah, just that need to kind of I guess like with the second like Pluto, if you're thinking of it from a second house perspective, it's also just like getting past any fears and not being like really like not being too obsessed with the physical, like the material gains, and having like one foot in the physical, one foot in the metaphysical, right? And having like a more spiritually based holistic kind of values. So um let's see here. But also, yeah, with like, so yeah, I said like the potential power struggles with siblings, but also, yeah, just like someone who, when you get interested in something, you can like probe very, very deep into it and like have like an obsessive energy about learning. But yeah, that goes back to what I was saying about Mars and Gemini, where it's like really important not to, be all over the place with that, or just trying this, trying this, trying this, and not giving something enough time to really fully evolve. Um, okay. Pallas and Leo in the 12th, that's someone who can really understand spiritual teachings, and also teach them as well, communicate them, ideas that can really help humanity. And then Leo, I think that that just gives like someone who likes to play with words, someone who has a very creative mind, and like potentially like likes to write or have some type of creative outlet in the world of arts, I guess. So I think also with Jupiter in the South Node, what I would say is that um it's about like not being too grandiose with different ideas, different schemes, like it's about like channeling that Virgo, that more practical, step by step demeanor towards different ideas that might be very expansive, but not like having like the Superman, Superwoman syndrome where it's like taking on too many things at once. So it's like, yeah, about like working in a very realistic and down to earth manner towards your goals, while the goals can still be massive, but just understanding that's like, okay, what's it going to realistically take on a day by day, step by step basis for me to get here, right? And things that are worth it are a lot of work, right? So okay, so Sirius in Virgo, um, just like that's someone who likes to be at this, like be of service to other people. They feel nurtured when people, but like they nurture others by doing little things, little small acts, and they like to be recognized for it. And then they also, you know, like when they receive the same, or where they receive recognition for those things they do. And yeah, also they feel cared for when there's people who can come help them. I don't want to say perfect, but develop the skills that they care about the most. People who can like really be handy to them, and they're very, very helpful in that realm too for others. So yeah, I definitely think like in career wise, I would see you be someone who's like quite popular, just in general, like quite popular, quite good at networking. Like if that's anything that's needed for you in your life. And I definitely could see you being a writer. I would not be surprised if you're not a writer, that you're definitely someone who could really gain a lot through writing, whether it's journaling, poetry, whatever. And yeah, just like a strong dedication to your career. Um, I see that in lots of different places in your charts. And like having like the discipline. Um, but there can also be, yeah, perfectionism with the Vesta tense, like just watching out for that. Like it's like the idea of like if you're grading yourself on a scale of 0 to 100 each day, like perfectionism, people with perfectionism, right, which is like a big thing in our society, it's like they set super high expectations for themselves, and when they can't hit them, they just say, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna follow 0. So it's like being happy with the days that you hit 50, happy with the days that you hit 70, happy with the days that and some days, you can only do 20. It's not about making excuses, it's just about not understanding that like different days have different energies, and you're not always going to be able, you're not a robot, you're not a robot, but just being grateful for what you have and who you are, and what you're able to do, right? And just like really being like tuned into your needs, right? So Juno in Scorpio, so your ideal mate would be someone who has a level of loyalty and depth, and who's willing to transform and have more of a spiritual type of relationship, in the sense that they don't have to be a spiritual person, but that there's a level of commitment and a level of real emotional comfort. Like you feel very secure being your full self around that person. I know that can be said for anyone, but Juno and Scorpio especially, It can also be someone who likes intense relationships that are very sexual and where you have like the full attention of the partner, right? And as a Taurus moon, the high level of sensuality, touch, cuddling, all that stuff, right? So one of the challenges is like, yeah, balancing all those needs with also, keeping your own self, right? And not falling to where you're too interconnected, right? I think for everyone, the divorce rate is so high, and I have my own theories. Like, for example, and I know everyone's different. Everyone's love language is different, but there's more studies that are coming out now about the benefits of having a different bedroom than your partner. I see more and more people doing that now. I've done it my whole life, but um, I think that's one thing. Like keeping space, I think is really important. But like for someone with your chart, um, you don't have like me, like the Aquarius placements and the Sag moon, like for you, it could be quite different. So it's different levels, it's different ratios that are gonna work for different people, right? Like different levels of like space that will work for you that might not work for someone like myself or someone else, right? Um, so yeah, also, do you know where it is? Like just the idea of once again, like sharing ideas, um, like just very strong commitment to communicating with like this is like a big picture partner. So yeah, and then like relationships can really teach you a lot about yourself. Um, but yeah, like Venus and Libra, like I said, there's a strong need for relationships, right? So that is definitely something there. And then you know, from a whole sign perspective, Venus second house is very good for money. Um, for but like with the sun there also, that's good for that too. But it's really also important for you to have like a set of values, right? So this whole set of values with the Libra, it's so important to say, okay, I have my constitution of me, and I'm making my decisions based off of that, right? Um, that's so important. So because like I said, it can be very indecisive, Libra energy. So yeah. Um, and yeah, like money can be very attractive and all the pleasures that can bring, but it's really important to not like expend too much of your time and energy earning money. Um, it's about valuing yourself no matter what your external circumstances. And you'll see that lots of people with these types of placements, when they have that self value, then money and kind of possessions, all that stuff, there's that interplay, right? So when you're headed towards your north node, right, the north node is your destiny point, the metaphoric mountain never not climbed in past lives. You're trying to help the collective and in your own very you know very very unique way. And when you're doing that, things will just happen positively. So but yeah, you definitely have like a very strong talent at making people feel at ease. I see that all over your chart. So I mean, there's just so much potential. Like a lot of charts, like I'm like very like sure, like you can do this, but like Libra's also it's the scales. It's good for business. So they're able to enter a room and just really, really, really know like how to communicate with different types of people. They can be very great socialites. Hey, it's me. Raspy voice. Okay, let's pop this baby over in. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. Oh, Ina. Hey, Ina. One of the new cats. Hey, small cat. Hey, small one. Yeah, you're small. So, let's see. Run, Esme, run, Esme, run, Esme. So yeah, you definitely have a very angelic. Wow. So you have Amor on your ascendant, Angel, and Lust. Oh shit. Okay, Lust is so interesting. Lust on the ascendant makes, and I have no idea what you look like, by the way. No idea. I never look at photos of anyone before, so I just have noticed with Lust that it makes people very sexy. Um, Even to the point sometimes where it's like too much, and they just don't even want that. But yeah, they can be like people can find them very sexually attractive and very seductive often. But then you also have Angel there, and that's obviously speaks for itself. So having like a very innocent kind of angelic feel, and then Amor also, which is like one of my favorite asteroids because it relates to unconditional love. So when you have that as your on your ascendant, it can make you the way you look, the way you express yourself, have that energy. And with your Libra sun, Libra Venus with your Libra sun, it's like yeah. So just like like when you have a more activated, just like you just love people unconditionally, and it's obviously an amazing placement for a healer or for an artist or for anyone, right? It just creates a lot of, it's a very, very good one. Um, Nessus with Venus. You have a lot of, and you have Aphrodite rising. So Aphrodite and once again, I would not be surprised if you had an amazing voice. Um, But yeah, that one is about like princess beauty. So you have Aphrodite and lust. So it's like the sexy, I always say there's hot, sexy, cute, and beautiful. Um, so Aphrodite is definitely beautiful and lust is sexy. I don't know. Maybe Angel's cute. I don't know. Um, what was the other one? I guess hot and sexy is kind of the same thing. So yeah. Yeah. Also, like, yeah, Black Moon Lilith, like, I didn't really talk about the house placement. Yeah, there can be just like dark stuff with the family, basically, and that like this kind of like darker side can come out around family. So just being very very self-conscious, very conscious of how you are. Like, if you have like family that triggers you, like really, like for example, I have the same placement, so I can speak this. Um, like I don't know if you drink, but like I stopped drinking around my family years ago. Like I barely drink anyways, but it was because like one or two times, like they pissed me off, and I just kind of snapped, not like crazy snap, just like said something that was like just wasn't something I wanted to say, like tit for tat, the world will be blind, right? So I got offended, and then or I was offended, and then I snapped back. So that's just not how I want to be. So yeah, that's an example. And yeah, just like the Black Moon in Sagittarius, I think all it's yeah, just really about like not being like too reckless in your pursuit of goals as well, right? I already talked about the other part. Um, and it's like a theme I've talked about a lot, right? It's like where not just like if you are a metaphoric carriage of nine horses, it's like not having one going this way, one going that way, one going that way, like trying to get them all in like a similar area, which can be difficult with the Mars and Gemini. But being a Libra, you can balance things in life, right? And Virgo rising can definitely be quite good at laying down the law in terms of like the routine and stuff like that. Mm, 1630, 1852. Hey, so ooh, and then you have Algol, right? Super close to the moon. Is that Beetlejuice? Yeah, a lot of these. And you have Hecate on Jupiter. That's I love seeing that because it just makes so much sense with my clients. Like, that's one of the three witch asteroids. You have it on your Jupiter. So yeah, you're able to really, really do well in areas of life. Like for example, anything with herbs, anything ceremonies, any kind of magic. Hold on. Stop being a bad cat. Stop being bad. No biting. Go up here. Okay. Okay, so I was gonna search robot detailed view project. And yeah, you can like really like you have lots of spiritual protection. You have, Eros with Jupiter too, so that is also like about like it's like, very, very passionate person, very sexual, most likely. Lots of willpower, lots of attraction. Um, but sometimes, yeah, it's like really important to kind of ground yourself when it comes to um, romance and stuff. Let me see if I can find something on. Oh, okay. Let's see what I got here. So it says you have a strong sense of idealism. These are like what I call the cherries on top, like the asteroids and fixed stars. There's so many of them. There's the ones that you have in very close conjunction with the planets and points. So a strong sense of idealism and need for experience pleasure as a part of your erotic love. You may be attracted to many partners at once or excited by the prospect of a sexual encounter involving many people. You may also have a tendency to fetishize people from different cultures or walks of life. You are drawn to experiences that broaden your horizons. You may find erotic enjoyment in spiritual, philosophical, and idealized sexual partners. You're excited by the idea of blending your philosophical and spiritual beliefs with your erotic desires. You may have an expansive and eclectic array of desires when it comes to your sexual and erotic nature. You don't want to be limited and love to test the boundaries of pleasure when it comes to intimacy. All right. So then let's see. So talk about all those. Oh yeah, I remember. I remember the last one I wanted to next was conjunct. Hard to find information about a lot of these. So Nessus with Venus can be quite difficult. But hold on. So that Nessus can be related to abuse. So it could speak of like potential like abusive like relationships. Not like something that is always going, but something, the capability for relationships to like, if not chosen carefully, to be like abusive. Okay. Okay, it says, okay, women with Nessus conjunct Venus have a higher probability of attracting sexually obsessive men, which also I was gonna say with lust, I've seen it that they can that can like I don't want to use the word stalkers because that's like not what it is, but it can really like make people have like be very obsessed. Um so the solution is to use your mind in relationships, then fall to use your mind in relationships, then fall for the hot urges or in feelings of attraction physically generated by the powerful vibes and intense stares of men who try to woo with a wow factor. Interesting. Stop, cat. Interesting, because like they said, so this person, I'm in this forum, right? I don't know much about Nessus, but she said she identified more with the what like with this explanation. She said the person said men with Nessus, and the person who has in her chart said she identified more with this one. So it says men with Venus conjunct Venus or conjunct Venus and Nessus together have magnetic appeal. They are not abusers but can become serial daters. However, if Nessus and Mars, they don't. Um, yeah, so so that's kind of how it is. So you'll know, but you have a very strong Venus, right? You have it in dignity, right? It's the best sign, Taurus or Libra. So and it's like the ruler of your sun and your moon. So your Venus is so strong that maybe it won't have that negative effect, you know? All right. So let's see what we got with this. If anything, it's kind of far away from your Saturn. Yeah, it's not showing anything. Betelgeuse is a star and it is on your midheaven, and I know this one is very, very good for wealth. So yeah, that's what it's speaking about. Um, yeah, typical that yeah, it says like it's just yeah, it's one of the it's a star that's linked to also athletics, like a very agile and speedy body. So it seems to be also linked to like arts and sciences, but usually, yeah, like a illustrious, splendid life, kind of a boss energy. And then of course, Algol, which is right on your moon. Um, Algol is like the Medusa, gets a really bad rep. Um, hold on. Is like the demon star, but lots of artists have it, right? Lots of artists have it. Or people who work for like the mass media, medicine. Um, so let's see. It says natives of this conjunction can develop the ability to gain victory over their competitors. However, they can also experience setbacks prior to their victory. The natives will be dogged, in indefatigable, continuously striving to reach their goals, and never at a loss for words or expressions. Illness of a sublime nature are possible. So it's also a lot about surrender, right? With Algol, it's like very like it gets a really bad rep, but it can be very dominant and kind of like evil, but um it's kind of like an alchemist energy, right? So yeah, it's just really, really about kind of like in your case, moving towards, the highest energy, like when it comes to Taurus and Scorpio, like really allowing yourself to go through the death rebirth transformation. that might not feel comfortable, but that's ultimately needed for your greatest growth. Let me just pop in here. Oh wait, let me just do that. But yeah, like different, like more in the charts of men. Actually, it's more the midheaven actually that creates murder. Yeah, Algol, if you look it up, you'll see like ALGOL. There's just a lot of interesting like stuff about it. It's is the head of Gorgo Medusa. The name is derived from the Arabic al ghul, meaning demon, evil spirit, or devil, derived from the same root as alcohol. Alcohol is part of a double star system. Yeah. So I just read this because last planet had like the same thing. Well, not on her moon, it was on her midheaven. No, wait. It was on her moon too. Or yeah. But really, what I'm seeing here is like really it's more is if it's with Mars or the ascendant, it seems to have the most difficult. Also, they're saying how a lot of people with algal energy have like this very like mysterious type of attraction. Um, it's not conventional at all, but it's very present. So I found that interesting. All right. Well, you had a lot going on. All right, cool. Well, that is what else did I have to say? I like to kind of just look at everything. Yeah. The grand trines don't work because they're not with planet. It would be what, like Mars, part of fortune, Sun. But yeah, you also have Mars trine Sun. I don't think I talked about that one, did I? Oh wait, there's two I totally missed. Two aspects I totally missed. Three actually. But Sun trine Mars just gives like the ability to really like have lots of confidence in terms of like achieving your goals and really go towards your goals. Very good for leadership positions. And it's actually really, really good for you as a Libra to have Sun trine Mars because it gives you more assertiveness. Um, so that's a very, very good placement for you. Very, very good. And then also you have Venus sextile Jupiter, such a good karmic aspect. So lucky when it comes to love. Yeah, you have Nessus on your Venus, so I'm not sure how that would play out of those potentials I told you about. But yeah, people with that can usually like be really good, like lucky in love, lucky in money, lucky in money, luck in money, luck in love, and then they can also be very good at like setting goals and achieving them. So that helps a lot. Um, Also, one thing about Mercury square Uranus is that sometimes people can just like their brains can be working too fast. So it's like really important to lean into that Taurus moon, high energy of being grounded, meditating, um, because it's like it's like a very fast mind, right? Um, and sometimes it can be like, but you do have lots of aspects that are about like being a good listener. But sometimes people, when if you only had this, you didn't have like this positive ones for being a listener. Sometimes like there can be like ADHD type energy with the Mercury and Uranus, where it's just like really important to ground the energy, especially with Mars and Gemini as well. So okay, Venus. So I didn't talk about Venus square Neptune and square Uranus, and we'll end on these. So Venus square Uranus. So this is with love, right? Self-love, but like self-love, Venus is what we value. It's how it's self-love, and then it's that self-love is projected outwards, right? So Venus square Uranus people can have a lot of difficulty with commitment when it comes to personal relationships. They can sometimes see like anyone else's claim at them is like them being kind of locked in a prison. Like they need so much freedom, freedom of self-expression and just freedom to be themselves and freedom to kind of still move in their own like independent way. So it is going like speaking further to the need to like, learn compromise and really like be able to like, enjoy your partner's, unique contribution to your life. Sometimes with this aspect, I see people who it's like grass is green on the other side type energy, and they can sometimes be serial daters. Um, so I think the best thing is just like understanding that maybe going back to what I was saying earlier, there is that importance of space in relationships and just being able to kind of keep your independence, right? So maybe that makes more sense now because with a lot of your placements, they're more, you know, like lots of closeness, but that one, it can be very interesting. And also, yeah, I think it just makes like a very interesting person because it's someone who's able to, it's good for kind of like the need, like when like what I was talking about, like the need for change, right? But yeah, very exciting love life, but yeah, definitely issues of commitment, and not wanting to be bound by like traditional societal standards. So yeah, and then also like with partners, I said this earlier, like just needing you need someone who stimulates you and who excites you, right? um and who gives you freedom, right? So also, Venus rules spending, so sometimes people can like have very spontaneous spending habits with that. And yeah, so yeah, maintaining like a healthy self-image can be, it can just be like with Neptune, it can be difficult, right? With Neptune square Venus. So that can also be like the rose-colored glasses energy, right? But yeah, the ideal relationship is really like where you're able to express your uniqueness and obviously have that freedom. And it might be very, it might mix some elements of traditionalism, but then also some, that are, some elements that are very, very you know unique to your own individuality. um but yeah, a lot of times people with this like are very popular and interesting, funny, um creative. And yeah, they can have ups and downs relationships and ups and downs with money, but then you also have lots of good energy for money. So you see how astrology, there's always like different um different elements that you think contradict, but then you realize, you can still have like good energy with money, but then also be spending, have like kind of like a need to kind of ground the self with respect to that. So Neptune square Venus is very interesting. Um, Basically like with Sun and Venus squaring, these ones, it just definitely, let me see actually. So Venus is at 7. Yeah, so Saturn you don't have, but it can just make someone like over idealistic, rose-colored glasses at the start of relationships and jump too fast, think, oh, this person's the one, ignore red flags, like the Disney kind of indoctrination type stuff in relationships, right? So yeah, it's really about taking things slow and having realistic expectations and knowing that, just because, just like not to kind of like jump on, something so fast, because you have to get past that pink cloud period to really see how someone fully is, right? So yeah, I think there's definitely can be like difficulties with with how one has self-love, right? That all goes back to being a service, or having like a life that has real purpose to you and to your, like where you really really feel like I'm doing, I mean I'm doing, and I never want to say this is work. This could be being a mother, it could be so many different things, but really really feeling like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm playing my role. I found, what I'm here to do, or at least I'm finding things, right? Because there's a lot of trial and error. But some people with this, they can feel like unlovable. So it's like the sun square but different, right? Some people with this can think like they're too strange or there's something about them. So it's really about embracing that, embracing the parts of you that differ from the norm, right? So yeah, it's kind of like a distortion of self-image. And once again, the best thing is using cameras or using mirrors, affirmations, all that stuff, right? And even because Venus rules beauty, improving your appearance, like whether it's like fashion, cosmetics, whatever, like that can be something that's really, really good. Dancing, right? Stuff like that, right? And also, yeah, what can happen is that Neptune, this aspect can like distort your appreciation of other people. Now, you do have a very strong Venus, right? So that's very good for seeing the beauty in people. But yeah, like I was saying, it can be like the over idealizing or the under idealizing, right? Being blind to their faults or like, yeah. So the fact that you are like, yeah, like really careful not to be taken advantage of, right? But the fact that you have a Virgo rising, it helps you become very observant and having a Taurus moon, yeah, so you can really meet your emotional needs and feel them as they come up in your body, and kind of using that ability to really like counting your body for your like emotional understanding of things. So yeah, but one of the lowest potentials of this one is self-hate or self-abuse. um like whether it's like unhealthy eating, like anorexia, obesity, stuff like that. So once again, it's really important with Neptune hard aspects to stay away from drugs, alcohol, or at least to just be very, very aware that they can affect you in a way that's not good. Okay. Yeah. So that is all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope you enjoyed. So I want to look actually. Okay, 1 second. I'll be out of here. Let me just check my list. Actually, no, I wanted to look at one other thing. Okay, so we talked about that. Okay, so you mentioned something about transit. So basically the way I do everything is I keep my natal, like obviously like I really go deep on the natal, and I have a whole different reading. So what most people do is they get their reading, follow up, and current astrology. So I don't only go into transits, I go into everything you can imagine, right? Progressions, transits, house ingress, solar arc. I really look at the progressed lunar cycle. Super interesting. So that and more. And it's like the first hour is the follow up. I know you got only the reading. So there's no pressure. I'm just gonna give you a great offer if you're interested. So yeah, the follow up is an hour, and then the current astrology is 2. So they're all done in one live session. It's not like a long wait like this one, even though this one was a way shorter wait than what my typical. So if you're interested, usually that would probably be closer to like 500 and something, but I would be happy to do the follow up alone for 120. But if you want to get the current, I would be down to give you like a 150 or 170 discount to where it's 260 and both combined are 360. So let me know. So either be just the follow up for 120, which is just an hour where we only go over the nail stuff. And that one's really interesting because this is like this is a puzzle, right? It's like we're solving something. So that's when we take your lived experience and we combine it with everything I've said today, which is completely objective, just looking at your chart, without any knowledge of you, all that. So I'll write down what I offered you. Offered follow up for 120 or both for 360. So only 100 for the follow up and 260 for the current astrology. So Yeah, let me know if you could send me an email if you're interested. jesseaniston@gmail.com. Obviously, no pressure. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, you'll have it forever. It will never move from YouTube. Um, the best place to post readings, right? Because even if you lose your computer, they're still there. So what else? Yeah. So let me know. And yeah, also I teach astrology. I have one spot left, and I do astrocartography, compatibility. I do every kind of astrology reading you can imagine. So family readings, child readings, all that stuff. So yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao, peace.